It's hard to believe that iconic R&B artists captivated the world with passionate love songs, but secretly never publicly held their beloved's hand. Some even treasured a marriage proposal video for 2 decades, carrying it to their graves. Others mailed birthday cards for 15 consecutive years to departed lovers who never returned. Why did these artists conceal their affections until death? If you think you possess complete knowledge of Marvin Gaye, Whitney Houston, Luther Vandross, or Teddy Pendergrass, prepare for surprising disclosures in today's video. 19. Al Green, a belated admission. Imagine the singer who captivated America with "Let's Stay Together," harboring a love he never publicly acknowledged. This romance quietly blossomed in 1973 when Al Green met Linda James, a widow with a difficult history. Married previously to a drummer in his band, Linda lacked fame and striking beauty, yet possessed a captivating gaze that enthralled Al. They established a home together on the outskirts of Memphis, removed from prying eyes and speculation. However, their deepening affection intensified the pressure. Linda endured harassment from fans after rumors surfaced. Al received a stark warning from his manager: "Go public, and you'll forfeit the year's most significant promotional opportunity." He remained silent, a decision with dire consequences. One October night in 1974, following a dispute over Al's intention to announce their relationship on the radio, Linda vanished for several hours. Upon her return, she carried a kettle of boiling water. She proceeded directly to the bedroom, drenching Al as he slept, causing him to cry out in pain. Linda then went to the kitchen, obtained a firearm, and ended her own life. By the time law enforcement arrived, she was deceased. Al survived with third-degree burns, but his life irrevocably altered. Subsequently, he abandoned R&B, embracing gospel music. He claimed God summoned him. Yet, those close to him understood his remorse was directed more towards that woman than to any higher power. In a rare moment of confession, he admitted, "Had I not been fearful, perhaps she wouldn't have perished." And due to that fear, the world remains unaware of who Linda was. 18. Luther Vandross, the man in the shadows and the birthday cards never delivered. Some voices resonate globally, yet never experience the love they portray. For Luther Vandross, the solitude wasn't in his songs. It resided in his unspoken emotions. Over a career exceeding 3 decades, Luther embodied tenderness and love in soul and R&B music. He remained unmarried, never publicly acknowledging a romantic partner. When questioned, he deflected with gentle, humorous responses. However, those close to him perceived his internal pain. Rumors circulated that during the early 1980s, Luther deeply loved a very famous older male artist who collaborated with him on multiple projects. This man cultivated an impeccable public image. Any suggestion of his sexuality was unthinkable. Thus, their relationship remained confined to the recording studio. They exchanged handwritten notes on small pieces of paper. Each lyric conveyed subtly through melody. By 1992, Luther and this man had shared a Manhattan apartment for almost 4 years. They fiercely protected their secret until a Florida tour stop. A new assistant inadvertently witnessed them holding hands on a hotel balcony around midnight. Within 48 hours, rumors reached his record label, accompanied by vaguely threatening warnings. That evening, Luther received a brief call. The voice warned of dire consequences if their secret emerged. Hours later, his secret lover departed without explanation. A hastily written note on the table read, "I'm sorry, I lack the courage." Subsequently, no one visited Luther's apartment. His singing about love forever changed. Years later, after a 2003 stroke, Luther lacked a partner. Only his mother and close assistants were on his visitor list. His recovery was slow. He lost his singing voice and largely withdrew from public life before his death in July 2005. However, the narrative continues. While cleaning his New York apartment, his family discovered a small, locked metal box. Inside were over 20 handwritten birthday cards, all addressed to the same person, bearing the same message yearly. Even if you don't remember this day, I always remember you. Did this man ever learn of this? For 15 years after their separation, Luther Vandross consistently penned a birthday message. 17. The iconic Whitney Houston, a symbol of forbidden love. Whitney Houston was more than just a legendary singer. She represented an ideal, the perfect image of a black female star entering the 1980s. However, concealed beneath this glamorous exterior was a secret the star was compelled to hide. A woman named Robin Crawford. Their connection began when Whitney was a young woman in New Jersey. Robin was the first to observe Whitney's private practice sessions, witnessing her emotional struggles under familial pressure. Their affection developed gradually. They shared a small apartment, their lives intertwined, from mundane items like toothbrushes to aspirations of grand stages. Yet, with Whitney's rise to fame, subtle fissures appeared. Her record label urged her to present a more conventionally feminine image, to avoid public displays of affection with any woman. The entourage began to scrutinize Robin, their disapproval evident. On July 15, 1990, following a Madison Square Garden concert, the pair were seen holding hands backstage. Whitney radiated happiness. But merely hours later, around 2 a.m., Robin received a threatening call from an anonymous number. The caller's voice was unnervingly composed. He warned, "If you show up next to her again, you'll regret it." The following morning, Robin departed the hotel discreetly, abandoning all her possessions. This included a demo song Whitney had composed especially for her. Subsequently, Whitney never publicly acknowledged Robin again. The true love of her life was effectively expunged from her public persona, as if it had never transpired. 16. Donny Hathaway, a whirlwind of unrequited love and mental instability. No one anticipated Donny Hathaway's death following such a tranquil recording session. He departed his Essex House hotel room in Manhattan late one January night in 1979, without luggage, without farewells. Police reported he fell from the 15th floor window. Yet, the mystery wasn't his passing. It was a crumpled note found in his coat pocket. The ink was smeared, revealing a single haunting line: "You will never know." For almost a decade, Donny and Roberta Flack were inseparable, two harmonious voices perfectly interwoven. Their duet, "The Closer I Get to You," evoked emotions audiences perceived as authentic love's testament. But his feelings remained unvoiced. Donny adored Roberta, but the terror of losing her surpassed his solitude. He understood one misspoken word could shatter not only their romance, but also their musical careers. A poorly timed confession, he knew, could ruin them both. Few were aware that in September 1973, Donny secretly recorded a song, untitled solely for her, yet never sent it. Instead, he kept it in a wooden box, tucked under his hotel pillow on tour, soothing his anxiety. But as his illness progressed, his concealed affection morphed into an incurable poison. 6 years later, he carried that secret beyond life, leaving the woman he loved forever unaware of its depth. 15. Etta James, a voice echoing abandonment. Did anyone truly remain by Etta James's side when the spotlight faded? Behind her powerful, emotive voice lay a woman perpetually forsaken by parents, romantic partners, and even those closest to her. Etta herself stated she lacked any knowledge of her father in her youth. Her mother departed when she was young, leaving her to navigate a series of temporary homes. Music was her sole means of connection. However, unbeknownst to many in 1960, at the height of her fame with At Last, Etta discreetly fell for a Caucasian musician in her band. They collaborated on music, recording late into the night, harboring dreams of an open, honest relationship. Yet societal norms of that era thwarted their aspirations. her record label issued a stern warning. A black female artist associated with a white man, your career will be destroyed. The musician, fearing for his family and spouse, withdrew without a farewell. Etta succumbed to addiction, undergoing a rehabilitation yet relapsing repeatedly, but always performed, at last, with a lingering gaze toward the empty chair beside the piano. In 2011, shortly before her passing, she requested a nurse retrieve an old musical score inscribed with two initials, E and J, and a faded message. This song was meant for a duet, but I never got to sing it. In death, Etta James carried a secret she never disclosed. 14. Billy Paul, a tale of interracial love. Why did the singer of the passionate Mrs. Jones remain silent about Mr. He? The explanation rests in an unreleased recording and a lifelong fear. During the late 1960s, as his fame grew and Motown cultivated the image of the ideal black male artist, Billy Paul began a relationship that broke all conventions. His partner wasn't a fan or fellow performer, but Harold, a white British music producer. In a time when homosexuality was considered a sin, a black artist openly involved with a white man was not just shocking, it meant professional ruin. In 1971, during a late-night recording session, Billy attempted a new version. Same tune, but the lyrics were for Mr. Who. Shortly after, Harold was dismissed from the record label, and Billy received a stark warning from his manager. To stay relevant in the soul music scene dominating Billboard charts, that recording had to disappear. Billy destroyed the handwritten lyrics on the spot and never performed the song again. After Billy Paul's death in 2016, a former studio engineer revealed, "I witnessed him record that song once. It was the only time I saw him sing and weep simultaneously." 13. Rick James, a rebel concealing secrets. Imagine the surprise. Behind Super Freak's dazzling stage lights, Rick James harbored a secret love, a person forbidden from his public life. He cultivated a notorious image, wild, rebellious performances shattering conventions. Yet privately, he battled loneliness and crippling addiction. During his 80s heyday, Rick fell for a male lighting technician, Michael. Michael accompanied Rick on every tour, yet remained absent from all backstage photos. They shared a small Detroit apartment, a refuge where Rick could escape his public persona. Free from cameras, pressure, and the forced bad boy act, he found solace. However, their privacy shattered when a reporter photographed Rick and Michael entering a hotel discreetly. His record label immediately pressured him to eliminate anything threatening his carefully crafted masculine image. Consequently, Michael was dismissed following a Texas tour. Overwhelmed, Rick descended into self-destruction, composing numerous unreleased songs about an unnamed man. Tragically, upon Rick's 2004 death from heart failure, his assistant discovered a diary, a safeguarded repository of late-life confessions all centered around one individual, Michael. 12. The only woman to ever interrupt Barry White mid-session in the studio was an unnamed lover. This occurred during the summer of 1997 in Studio 3 at A&M Studios, Los Angeles. He was recording Every Shade of You for an unreleased album. The audio engineer captured a moment on the unedited track where, precisely on the fourth beat, Barry paused, sighed, and whispered, "Lorraine," 3 times, his voice filled with anguish. Lorraine wasn't his wife. She was a 32-year-old arranger, a Berkeley graduate, who relocated to California in 1994 to work on orchestration for Barry's label. The start of their relationship remains unknown. She remained entirely out of the public eye, never appearing in the press or on stage, always discreetly in the control room with her score. Their romance lasted almost 3 years, intense yet private. Then, in June 2000, Lorraine received an anonymous letter at her Glendale home. It threatened exposure if she didn't withdraw from a project. A week later, she resigned from the music industry, vanishing without a trace. Barry never publicly sought her, but a former assistant revealed he frequently returned to their secluded meeting places, hoping for her return. Upon Barry White's death from kidney failure in 2003, his family discovered the shelved 1997 demo marked "Do Not Release" in bold lettering. They chose to erase the recording and prevent its distribution. Lorraine didn't attend the funeral, yet an anonymous bouquet of white orchids mysteriously appeared backstage at Studio 3 that day. One can't help but speculate about the what-ifs had their love endured. 11. Phyllis Hyman. A forbidden love forever concealed. Music aficionados often overlook a painful truth. Those who craft the most poignant love songs frequently experience love's cruelest deprivations. Phyllis Hyman tragically exemplified this. At her career's zenith, she was a highly sought-after African-American vocalist nationwide. Her statuesque figure, striking features, melancholic expression, and rich, haunting vocals embodied regal sorrow. Yet few knew the secret behind the glamour, a forbidden romance. It was an extensive, complex affair spanning over a decade, with a renowned musician already married with children. Their paths crossed in 1983 during a ballad recording session in New York City. He played piano for her, unknowingly altering the trajectory of her life. Their love unfolded in secrecy, shielded from the public eye. No shared photographs existed, and rumors never surfaced. However, Phyllis's unexplained absences after performances, her interview avoidance, and her hauntingly personal songs served as subtle clues. Concerned friends attempted intervention, but whenever she insisted, "I'm fine," her eyes would fall and her hands would clench subtly, concealing a painful reality. This clandestine love not only isolated her but also jeopardized her career. Several substantial performance contracts were mysteriously canceled. Speculation arose that the musician's wife wielded her influence to sabotage Phyllis's opportunities. This compounded Phyllis's struggles, leading to increased alcohol consumption, erratic behavior, and last-minute show cancellations. On June 30th, 1995, mere hours before a concert at the Apollo Theater, where she had once reigned supreme, Phyllis was found unresponsive in her Manhattan residence. A note lay on the table. "I'm just tired." Yet a half-finished manuscript beside it left her family speechless. It contained a handwritten song, its final line reading, "For the man I was never allowed to hold in public." Ultimately, the song remained unheard and his identity undisclosed. Their love perished with Phyllis, a secret eternally interred. 10. The guitarist Betty Wright perpetually overlooked. During the early 1980s, coinciding with the peak of No Pain, No Gain's popularity, Betty Wright frequently recorded in a private Miami studio, accessible only to a select few. This group included Marcus, a married guitarist slightly older than her. Their initial encounter occurred during an impromptu musical collaboration, and subsequently Marcus became Betty's sole trusted musical partner. While no public displays of affection were witnessed, he consistently awaited her at the stage door following each performance. In 1982, the pair were observed entering a hotel, deviating from their official tour itinerary. A solitary backstage photograph featuring them both, its reverse side inscribed with lyrics from "Tonight is the Night," was discovered within a black notebook following Betty's passing in 2020. Following her retirement from recording, Marcus's guitar playing ceased to be heard. A hushed comment circulated. Their love remained private. 9. Sam Cooke's concealed affections for DL, a youthful stagehand accompanying him on early 1960s tours, remained largely unknown. Their shared hotel rooms in France, collaborative songwriting, and a public hand-holding incident witnessed by a manager on a Naples departing vessel are documented. To avert a career-ending scandal, Sam hastily married Barbara, yet continued writing letters to DL from London, addressing them to California. These letters never reached their destination. Barbara intercepted, destroyed, and incinerated them. A housekeeper reported Sam's death by shooting in late 1964 under ambiguous conditions at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles. DL's absence at the funeral was noted, but a mortuary employee recounted a man's silent grief at the body the preceding night. Subsequently, DL disappeared from the music scene. Sam's cousin confirmed this as a secret love carried to his death. 8. The never-realized nuptials of Sylvester. During the late 1980s, as disco's popularity waned, Sylvester's powerful voice transcended all bias. However, just as the limelight appeared to dim, he was planning a deeply personal event, a clandestine wedding with another man. This man's identity remained undisclosed, only identified as a U.S. Marine stationed in San Francisco in 1986. Their meeting occurred following a charitable performance where Sylvester sang at an AIDS hospital. The Marine didn't seek an autograph. Instead, he quietly presented Sylvester with a dark blue handkerchief bearing the embroidered message, "Be still." Their love blossomed silently for almost 3 years. Only Sylvester's closest confidant knew the Marine's identity due to the military's then prohibition of homosexuality. Sylvester once quipped, "I found my husband, but he must still don his uniform and daily march into my heart." At the time, no one perceived this as mere humor. In 1988, Sylvester commissioned 2 silver wedding rings engraved with December 31st, their intended departure date from the U.S. for a private Amsterdam ceremony. But it wasn't to be. AIDS rapidly consumed him, and on December 16, 1988, Sylvester breathed his last at San Francisco General Hospital. In his nightstand drawer, a small note was discovered, simply stating, "My husband. One day, the world will know you." Since then, each year on the anniversary of Sylvester's passing, the hospital receives a bouquet of lavender, anonymously sent. 7. The renowned singer Aretha Franklin's funeral included a man outside. Aretha Franklin, a powerful vocalist who commanded global respect, harbored a secret, lifelong romance. This was with William Bill Mercer, a lighting technician on her late 1970s tours. Bill, 7 years Aretha's senior, a family man, remained discreetly backstage during her performances. Their first encounter occurred during a New York Beacon Theater soundcheck. In the winter of 1977, after a vocal exercise, he alone approached, fixing a microphone wire, and softly commented, "Your voice reaches parts of me I never knew existed." Their bond deepened during late-night rehearsals. She shared unfinished recordings. He gifted her an inscribed leather Bible. Sometimes faith is our only anchor. His marital status prevented public appearances. Aretha attempted to end things, yet their reunions always rekindled their connection. Their quiet relationship lasted almost 15 years, concluding in 1992 when Bill transitioned to television. On 08/16, 2018, Aretha's Detroit funeral drew fans and celebrities. An older man wearing a brown hat stood outside the church for 3 hours, beginning to weep as Ain't No Way played. He then silently departed. Post-funeral, her family discovered 4 handwritten letters from Aretha to Bill within her Bible. The final letter simply read, "You never sat in the front row, but I always saw you." 6. David Ruffin. The Temptations' captivating lead singer concealed a long-term romance with Carla, an obscure backup vocalist in Motown recordings. This clandestine relationship wasn't about concealing celebrity status. Rather, Carla was his spouse's half-sister, a secret whose revelation would devastate both his professional life and family. Their trysts occurred discreetly at a modest Detroit residence, a setting where Ruffin composed lyrics for "I Wish It Would Rain." Following the discovery of a love letter by his wife in 1972, Carla disappeared from the music industry. David remained silent about her thereafter, but during a later performance he altered a song's lyrics to "My love was misplaced, and she is gone." Naturally, this altered verse was never professionally captured on any recording. 5. Natalie Cole's secret romance with her therapist unfolded alongside her illustrious career. Possessing a captivating voice and inheriting a rich musical legacy from her iconic father, Nat King Cole, Natalie reigned as a prominent figure in American music. However, beneath the surface of her romantic songs existed a complex life marked by marital difficulties, extended periods of addiction treatment, kidney failure, and a liver transplant. Many believed her fame came at the cost of solitude, but the identity of her unwavering companion remained undisclosed. During the early 2000s, while receiving treatment at an Arizona rehabilitation facility, Natalie encountered a Cuban-born music therapist, a former jazz musician who transitioned to healthcare. Their connection endured in private for almost 7 years. There was no public marriage, no declarations, only late-night sessions in a small ground-floor therapy room. The setting lacked the glamour of the stage. Instead, it featured gentle piano melodies and a voice that faltered at every high note. In late 2008, Natalie faced a severe kidney crisis requiring hospitalization. He arrived hours later, remaining at her bedside, holding her hand for 6 continuous hours. Upon her death in 2015, a shared photograph was discovered in her personal safe, concluding their love story in a private, unobserved space. 4. Marvin Gaye, the composer of love songs dedicated to a mature woman. In 1973, at the peak of his career with the chart-topping hit Let's Get It On, Gaye adopted a double existence. Publicly, he was the captivating soul singer, a heartthrob for millions. However, privately, he frequently left gatherings and traveled to a modest residence in suburban Pasadena to be with the one person who could comprehend his sadness without apprehension. She was Celeste Morgan, a classical music instructor of Mexican ancestry, almost 10 years his senior. Their acquaintance began when Gaye enrolled his son in her piano lessons. From brief encounters in the hallways to late-night musical collaborations in her apartment, their connection deepened discreetly. Celeste was married to a well-known local minister, and Marvin was entangled in a turbulent marriage with Anna Gordy, the sister of Motown's founder. They couldn't risk exposure. No photographs, no correspondence, and certainly no songs about her. Yet he eventually penned If I Should Die Tonight, a ballad about a forbidden love. In 1977, when Celeste threatened relocation to Chicago to escape the burden of secrecy, Marvin severed all ties. He declared that any future encounter would shatter his resolve. They never reunited. On April 1, 1984, when Marvin was fatally shot by his father at their home, an unfinished song was discovered on his person. It contained a single verse. I sang for you, but I was never permitted to sing alongside you. 3. The enigmatic Teddy Pendergrass, a hidden video unseen until his death. Music. I knew this list begins with Teddy Pendergrass linked to a haunting accident in the late 1970s. Teddy Pendergrass was not only a leading R&B vocalist of the 20th century, but also a symbol of male desirability and power in the music world. His stage presence was godlike. Concerts erupted in frenzy. Women displayed signs urging him to remove his shirt. A single name call from Teddy would send the crowd into a roar. Privately, however, his life was far more clandestine than many imagined. He concealed a relationship. Disclosure would have been catastrophic. His entire career could have crumbled overnight. Then, tragedy struck on March 18, 1982. Teddy was driving a dark blue Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit on Lincoln Drive, Philadelphia. Tina Watson, a former model, tall, elegant, and captivating, was his passenger. Secretly, Tina was transgender. The car lost control, hitting a divider. Airbags deployed late. Teddy's head struck the steering wheel. His lower body was pinned. Tina had only minor injuries. Initial reports named Tina. Later articles were altered. Tina vanished from the press as if non-existent. Teddy's representative stated he was with a friend, silencing further inquiries. A renowned black male singer idolized by millions of women, being romantically involved with a transgender woman was unthinkable. It would have devastated his image, harming sales, endorsements, and his entire career. Post-1982, Teddy's world transformed. The shimmering suits, the raised hand to cheering crowds, gone. Worse was the abandonment. Old friends distanced themselves. Industry contacts severed ties. Even his family grew weary after months of treatment with no clear outcome. Tana, erased from public view, remained steadfast. Daily, she aided his speech therapy, breathing exercises, and pushed his wheelchair regardless of the weather. Years later, on January 13, 2010, Teddy Pendergrass died from complications following colon cancer surgery. His funeral was starkly different from the stages he once commanded. It was eerily silent. Tana was unmentioned. The woman who silently supported him for almost 2 decades was ignored. A lone figure in black arrived early, stood silently by the casket, and left a single white rose. Weeks after his death, the family found a video just over 2 minutes long, which stunned them. Teddy, in his wheelchair, held a small ring, gazing distantly, seemingly addressing his beloved. He uttered unspoken public confessions, a declaration of love, a proposal for Tana. 2. Tammy Terrell, a love story untold. During the 1960s, Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye were a musical duo that enthralled America. From Ain't No Mountain High Enough to You're All I Need to Get By, their performances transcended music. They conveyed unspoken affection. Their on-stage embraces, lingering gazes at the song's end, and separation as the lights dimmed created an aura of mystery. While their relationship remained unconfirmed, doubt lingered. A 1967 notebook belonging to Marvin contained rushed notes. T smiled today. T said, "I'm fine." But those eyes, the writing was smudged, suggesting a late-night entry. That year, Tammy suffered a sudden on-stage collapse during a performance with Marvin. A brain tumor diagnosis, multiple operations, and eventual paralysis followed. Marvin subsequently withdrew, canceling concerts, forgoing solo projects, and spending countless hours at her bedside unseen. Their love, if it existed, remained nameless, unrealized. However, a nurse recounted a 1969 visit where, with Tammy gravely ill, Marvin held her hand for hours, gently kissing her forehead. That marked their final encounter. Following Tammy's death in March 1970, Marvin never performed another duet. Perhaps understanding that some love stories require no declaration, their pain resonated profoundly enough. 1. Curtis Mayfield, the unseen woman. Who was the first person to support Curtis Mayfield after his paralyzing accident? It wasn't his spouse or a medical professional, but a lighting technician from his 1989 tour. She's a person the media ignored, someone his family never discussed. Their romance bloomed discreetly amidst his concerts and bright lights. She prepared tea for him after each performance, ensuring he ate even when the crew was busy. However, she was married to a stage sound guitarist, preventing any overt advances from Curtis. Their love fully emerged in the summer of 1990 when she divorced, left the tour, and found work in Chicago. Letters, sometimes including unreleased demo songs, were exchanged. One soulful, unissued track contained the lyrics, "If I stand again, it's for you." The 1990 Brooklyn accident occurred a month after Curtis promised to meet her at a train station. He didn't make it yet. Upon his return home, she made quiet Friday visits, sitting beside his wheelchair sharing jokes. Following Curtis's 1999 death, she disappeared from the music scene. A leaked post-funeral photograph revealed a card near his portrait, bearing a shaky message. "If you ever stood again, I'd still keep this wheelchair just to push it away from the past together." Those are the loves that remained unspoken. Secret relationships taken to the grave. All because they were celebrities, idols, creations of a society that tolerated only flawlessness. Yet beneath the chart-topping hits, they were simply human. Humans who loved, who hurt, and sometimes lived lives yearning for love without apprehension. Therefore, what are your thoughts on these 19 R&B legends? Which narrative resonates most strongly with you? Leave a comment below. Remember to subscribe and share this video to continue hearing the narratives concealed behind the glamorous facade of fame.